What's up, people? Welcome back. I'm Carlo. Thank you for joining me. And today I'm going to be going over how I created the Nike Spec documentary. I just shared it a couple days ago. If you had a chance to watch it, thank you so much. It means a lot. And I also shared the raw behind the scenes just a few days ago as well. No editing or anything, just all raw BTS to show the process of how it was being made. But today I have about 7 different steps of how I did create this project, and hopefully you get something out of it. At the end of this video I will link the Nike documentary, so if you haven't seen it, click that link if you want to check it out. I would love that. Thank you so much. But let's get right into the first step of creating this, and it is how I got this project. A good friend of mine, his name is Tanasi. He was the talent for this. I'm going to be mentioning him a lot. He is a good friend. I played soccer with him growing up. He now plays on a professional team in Portugal, which is really awesome. He reached out to me to do just a regular kind of training video of him training in his yard on the field. And since I've been really trying to up my game as a cinematographer and just create more higher end work, create work that I want to show to directors and production companies and stuff for my reel, I had to pitch him a new idea, because I thought it would be a great opportunity to film him training, but I wanted to do something more, so I ended up having to pitch this idea to him. Second part of this project is the actual pitch process. Before I created any sort of treatment or any sort of documentation for this project, shot list, script, whatever it is, I just kind of came up with like a vague idea of what I envisioned this project to be, and I kind of sent it to him in a text message just to hear his thoughts and see if this would be something that he would be interested in. And after sending that text message, he was really into it, so I said, all right, give me a couple days. I'm going to write up a treatment. I'm going to write up kind of a basic storyline, some shot lists, some shot inspiration ideas, and I'll send that right back to you so we can kind of move forward with this. So after a few days, I ended up creating this treatment. So essentially, a treatment is a document explaining the project that you want to create. So it could be about like the storyline, just a basic premise of the storyline. It could be questions for an interview. It could be shot list, shot inspiration. It could be a mood board, color schemes. It could be anything you really want for it. But specifically for this project, I haven't written very many treatments in my career so far, so I'm still fairly new to this. This treatment that I wrote was fairly simple. The first page is just the logo, kind of just introducing the idea. The second page is the storyline, and to go off of the storyline really quick, don't be too set in stone on creating your project based off of the storyline you initially create. Allow yourself some wiggle room in the filming process and the editing process, because in the end it's going to change. You're going to find things in the shooting process that you didn't even think about that's going to be amazing to the story, and there's also going to be things that you wrote that you're just going to cut because it doesn't fit anymore, but that's okay. It's all part of the filming process, and same thing as editing. When you're editing this story together, don't always just refer back to that one little page that you wrote. You pretty much have to edit what you filmed, and that's going to change, and that's okay. So don't be set in stone with what you wrote. Be open to change, and that's all part of the process, which is awesome. And then I also added a bunch of different shot inspirations that I thought would be really cool, just for me to kind of get an idea of how I wanted something to look, or some different angles, some different focal lengths, and stuff along those lines as well. So I sent this to him, and this was pretty much a good base for me to kind of create this project. Step 3 was the pre-production aspect. Since I knew Tanasi personally, and the filming process was going to take part at his house, I've actually been there before because we were friends, but I haven't been there in a while, so I wanted to go back and kind of just scout the location. I went over a couple days before, walked around his house, walked in the gym, stuff like that, took iPhone photos just for reference. When I get back home and I'm maybe thinking of some more ideas, I could just go back to my phone, look at those photos. But yeah, that's kind of the general pre-production. I just wanted to scout the location, just get a general idea, especially for lighting, and the time of day that the sun would be over at this side of the field or this side of the house, whatever it is. It just gave me a good base of how I wanted to film and what time of day would be the best time to film. Step 4 was the gear and the rental aspect of the project. So I used my Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K G2. Since I bought this camera, it's just been on. I've literally used it every day. I love this thing. I highly recommend this camera for anyone that's looking to invest in a cinema camera. It's very affordable and it is phenomenal for what you get, especially because Blackmagic offers the availability to put a PL mount on this camera and exchange it for that EF that comes with it, which I did. I put the PL mount on and I rented 3 Cooke S4 lenses, the 18, 32, and 75mm lens. This is my first time using a cinema lens on my own project, and it was just an amazing experience. I also rented the Easy Rig Mini Max. I had Astera Titan tubes. Cool story about the Asteras. That weekend that I shot this project, a good buddy of mine named Scott was also shooting a project, so we split the cost of these Astera Titan tubes because he was using it for his project and I used it for mine. So we got it for the whole weekend and we kind of split the cost. So I had it for my shoot, he had it for his. So it kind of worked out that way. And those things are amazing. The app in your phone, it takes a while to get used to, but once you kind of understand it, these lights can literally do whatever you want. Oh, the B camera was the Sony a7 III. That's what Scott used. He helped me do second cam the whole shoot. Honestly, it kind of matched pretty well with the Ursa. It takes a bit of wiggle room in the coloring aspect to kind of make it look the same, but I think I was able to match it well enough so it did look like it was in the same ballpark, even though that the Ursa and the cinema lenses alone are just in a whole different field compared to the Sony. Just take some time coloring and you can kind of make it work. It'll be okay. I mean, it's fine. But I rented all the gear from a company called Expressway Cinema Rentals down in Philly, Pennsylvania. This was my first time renting gear for my own project. I've had to deal with rental companies before through being a production assistant for other companies. But this was my first time doing it for myself and my project, and they were extremely helpful in just kind of guiding me through the process, especially with the insurance and everything. That was something very new to me. I already have insurance for my business and my gear, but I didn't have enough to cover the lenses in the Easy Rig, which totaled $83,000 in $83,000 in replacement costs. Thank you. And my insurance didn't cover that, so I had to get a new short-term policy. So they walked me through that and guided me in that right direction, and I highly recommend, if you're on the East Coast, New Jersey, New York, whatever, check out Expressway Cinema Rentals in Philly. They're great, and I'm definitely going to be using them again. Actually, quick thing about the Cookes. One thing I struggled with, especially with the 18 and 32mm, if I was like a bit of a distance away from the subject, the focus wasn't as sharp. It was kind of blurry, but I think that just comes with it being more of a vintage style lens. But I didn't really mind it. It kind of added to that feel, but just be wary of that. It's not as sharp as your typical lenses. Step 5 was the production side, and this is my favorite part, just being on set, filming, holding a camera. My favorite part, without a doubt. I absolutely love it. So this was a 2-day shoot. The first day was the backyard family friends pickup game. So I showed up with Scott and Tomas. The first hour was the actual pickup game. So all we did was just film around the sidelines of the whole entire game. We couldn't be on the field, obviously, because they were playing, so we just got all different angles of outside of the field. So once that game was done, I grabbed Tenacity, the talent. I grabbed 4 other people and set up kind of a mock game in a way. So Tenacity was the lead offender, so he was the one with the ball kind of driving towards the defenders going towards the goal. He had 2 teammates, one on each side, and then 2 defenders defending the teammates, and then I was the head defender with the camera. So I was defending Tenacity. All handheld movements, got some high angles of his face, got some low angles of his cleats, got a side angle, back profile, all different angles, but that kind of added to the intensity of the game. So when I'm cutting from the outside on the sidelines of him playing, I could just do a quick cut inside and just do like a mock game in a way, but it all matches perfectly. So the last scene of the film was him by himself on the field at night with the lights on. This pretty much signified the idea of him being the last one off the pitch, because the next day we shot sunrise, and that signifies him being the first one on the pitch. He had 2 kind of stadium lights that backlit him, which was really nice. It created a really nice atmosphere, especially at night. And I had Scott using a bounce to kind of shine that light back onto his face, because those lights were backlighting him and his face was a little dark. So I used that bounce to kind of highlight him. So day 2 of filming was probably one of my favorite days. This had 4 different scenes to it. The first one was the sunrise solo training session, and essentially this was the opening establishing shots of the whole entire film. So we incorporated a bunch of stills and just establishing shots showing him walking onto the field, getting his cleats on, grabbing the ball, grabbing everything, just to kind of set the scene and allow the viewers to understand what we're about to do with the film. Some cuts here and there, some dribbling down the field, some juggling, some stuff like that, kind of warm up stuff. And then scene number 2, we brought in his trainer for about 45 minutes or so. We incorporated a bunch more like dynamic training exercises, some more movement, and we also added audio as well. So Scott was running with the audio recorder, kind of grabbing the trainer coaching Tanasi, just so I could have that as some added audio in the background in case I wanted to use it. And I did use it in the film as well. It just kind of adds a little bit of personality in a way. He brought in some really cool exercises with some cones, some dummies, some bands, and everything. It was just awesome. At this point in the film, I am drenched. I have the easy rig on. I have this camera. This camera is like 20 pounds or something like this at this point. Some scenes I was running with Tanasi, trying to keep up with him. It was so good. I felt like an athlete again, and it was awesome. So for the lighting aspect on the scene number 2 with the trainer, so Tanasi was backlit, kind of running towards the cones, running at me, and I realized I couldn't get his face as much. I couldn't get it lit as best as I could, so I had Scott with the bounce right in the intro. So one of the first shots, I kind of pulled into his face. Scott kind of followed me with the bounce, and you could see that the highlight of his face just glowed. And then when the training session started, the ball would be passed to him, and he'd run, grab the ball, and then run towards the cones, and Scott would just run away. And this kind of helped me get that like initial great lighting on his face, and then boom, just right into the training. So scene 3 on day 2 was the gym aspect. This was probably one of the harder scenes to film and light, just because of not really having much natural daylight, or just it being a really tight confined space with about 4 people in it, and it was just kind of difficult to light. We used the Astera Titans to light the whole scene, plus some natural daylight. I also had a hazer as well, which created some really cool atmosphere. There were a few things that I would do differently as far as lighting. Down there, I would have lit his face a little bit more in some scenes, or I would have bounced some light off the Asteras to kind of highlight his face a little bit more. Those are all lessons that you learn kind of sometimes after filming. You look back at the images and you're like, oh, maybe I should have just done this a little bit better. I should have done this, but you can't beat yourself up over it. I'm still really happy with almost all the shots that I got in there. Again, that's part of filmmaking too, is just looking back at things that you did and understanding, oh, okay, maybe next time I should have done this. So things like that, it's all just great learning lessons and tools for you to just keep getting better as a filmmaker or cinematographer. So the last scene on day 2 was the interview segment. Initially, I wasn't even planning on using scene as like a visual in the film. I was just going to use it as voiceover, but coming up with a place that I wanted to film, in case I do need to use the visuals of the interview, I want it to be kind of visually appealing. I thought it'd be kind of cool if I did it on the field. So we did set up the interview outside near the field to kind of create a visually appealing scene, just in case I did want to use it. I ended up not using it at all, but just as safety, I wanted something that could work. So filming an interview outside does come with its challenges, of course. He does live near an airport, so I bet you can imagine how tough that was sometimes. There was planes going every so often, there were a bunch of birds, there were a bunch of just regular outside stuff that you kind of had to deal with. Looking back now, I don't know if I would have done the interview outside just because of the noise, but I was able to get the microphone close enough, and I think I did get high enough quality of an audio to make it work. I do have a background in audio engineering and music production, so I was able to tweak the audio pretty much as best as I can. So overall, it worked pretty well. So when you're doing these types of videos, even though you may not be using the actual visual aspect of the interview, it might be cool to just set up like an actual visually appealing scene, just in case you do want to use it, or even if you want to just use it for your reel, like an interview reel or something like that. It could be kind of cool. But yeah, that's it for the production side of this. So step 6 on this project was the post-production aspect. And let me tell you, editing is amazing and it sucks all at the same time. They just cross paths all day. But this one took me about 2 weeks to edit to like that final copy. But when I tell you, it went through so many versions, so many lengths, so many different songs, so many different sound effects, so many different colors. It was a serious project, and this usually happens when you have a project that you're super passionate about. When it's like a big passion project, you want it to be perfect. And a quick tip, that I just want to share with you guys, an experience that I had as well, was usually when I have a project, I have about 5 to 7 different people that I usually send every project to for feedback. And when I ask these people for feedback, some of them are filmmakers, some of them are solely cinematographers, some of them are even just like regular people, because I like getting a critique from someone that's just a viewer. Like, instead of asking that person, hey, what do you think technically about this video, I could just say, did you like it? Is it enjoyable to watch? Going back to the critiques and all those stuff, take them with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, again, you are the director, you're the visionary creator of this project. So when someone gives you a critique or someone gives you feedback, take a look at what they say. Sometimes it might be the best thing for the film, and sometimes you might look at it and say, well, I don't think I want to do that because it doesn't fit this, and this, or I don't think that'll fit this project, but I appreciate that feedback, thank you very much, type of thing. Always appreciate the feedback that you get, especially it's from people that you respect and from people that you trust as well. If you guys want to see more of my post-production aspect, leave me a comment below and let me know if you'd like to even see any of the post-production work for this, whether it's sound effects or color grading or whatever it is. Yeah, leave me a comment below and let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. So to close out this video, I just wanted to give a few words of advice, and that is that sometimes in filmmaking, you have to step out of your comfort zone, and it's essential for growth. I never created a project like this before. This was probably one of my bigger, more daunting projects. Now that I've done it, I know that I could do it without a doubt. Even if it's a job, I know that I could do it and get paid for it because I've done it before. And you know, sometimes it's okay to be nervous and it's okay to be afraid on a shoot, but just trust yourself, be confident in your work, and allow yourself to feel those nerves and allow those nerves to kind of drive you and push you forward to succeed in whatever endeavor that you're kind of going through. Invest in your business, invest in yourself. Sometimes you got to spend money to make money. Even if you don't make money in 5 months from now or even a year from now, you might make money 2 years from now off that project. You never know. Just remember, success doesn't come from waiting for an opportunity to come. You have to make that opportunity. And that's where these spec projects come in. You need to create that project to get that work. And lastly, don't do it alone. Filmmaking is not something you want to do by yourself. I have 2 amazing friends that helped me throughout this whole entire project, Christie and Tomas Gesumaria. I will tag them below. I've tagged them in the last 2 videos because they're freaking awesome, and they really helped me create this vision and pretty much bring it to life. And without them, I wouldn't have been able to do it, without a doubt. So try to build a team behind you that you could trust, that have your back and are willing to create something just for the sake of creating something beautiful. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, thank you. I'm gonna link that Nike video at the end of this video, which I guess is now. So if you haven't checked that out already, please just check it out. Just watch it. It's about 3 minutes or so. Won't take too much of your time. Yeah, leave a comment. Let me know if you like it or not. And until next time, thank you so much. And remember, just get after it. Keep working. You'll be perfectly fine. Thank you so much. Have a great day.